day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say, is even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. 'Cause all I see is a tower of dreams, real love bursting out of every scene. Days go by. It's the bigger love of the family.
Welcome back. Welcome back. There it is. We back. Welcome back. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Tuesday to you. Happy Veterans Day. Salute to all the veterans for your service and sacrifice. I appreciate you.
How about the veterans of politics?
Can I get a word in my Tarris voice? Damn, Phil. Damn, Phil. Can I do the damn intro?
Just trying to keep things going, buddy. That's all.
3 seconds into the show. Damn. Good to see you too.
Trying to keep the mood up. Just trying to keep things going. That's all.
End the intro out first, and we can keep the mood after that. So as I was rudely interrupted,
just trying to protect the brand. That's what I'm doing.
Appreciate that. I thought Republicans respected veterans. I guess you don't, huh? Can I respect the veterans? As I was saying, I respect veterans and their service. I'm sure the other crew members do as well. Now we can go to sexy Phil. Phil, how are you? What's on your mind?
Nothing. As many of you have pointed out.
As usual.
Exactly.
As usual, Nathan. Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
You know, the problem with you guys is, do you believe in affirmation? Do you believe that's important? I mean, I feel like I don't get very much love on this show. You know, I'm all out of here.
I wonder why.
I'm on an island. You know what I mean?
No.
On an island, yeah.
I'm always accused of interrupting, which I never do. I mean, among other things.
Okay.
Roll the tape.
Michelle Dunn, good to see you, Michelle. Thank you for your time.
Hey, everybody.
Today. And Tarris Horton, always good to see you, bro. Thank you for your time today.
Phil, you want to answer for me? You want to?
Yeah. I'm Tarris Horton. I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry that I've been wrong on so many issues, but I'm really trying to improve, trying to get more in line. So give me some time. You know?
There you have it.
To my partner, Kevin Aldridge, the voice of reason. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. Happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there. Appreciate your service. And Phil's undefeated. That's all I can say.
He is undefeated. And, yes, he is.
He's undefeated.
And we got Gary Favors with us.
But in what?
In interruptions, my man. The interruption king.
You're the great interrupter.
I like that. Interruption king, great interrupter. Okay, I like that. We have a new face with us, a new voice with us, Gary Favors. Gary, welcome to the show. How you doing, sir?
Thank you for having me. And also thanks to all the veterans who have served, including myself, who did a 12-year stint in the military in the Gulf War. So I am pleased to be spending my day off from school here on your show. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to jump straight into we only got you for the first hour, so let's jump straight into it. You are fresh off of a city council run. Let me see here. City council run. Unfortunately for you and those that support you and voted for you, did not win. But you wrote an op-ed piece that reads, here's the headline: local Republicans like me are paying the price for a broken national image. And basically, you're saying that because it was the energy on the national level had an impact on the local level, including the race in Cincinnati. And as I read it, you're asking other Republicans to stand up, stand out, and speak out about it. And I'm glad you're here to talk about it. So we got Phil Heimlich with us. He's a little off the, not on the MAGA train. So you've got someone who kind of shares that viewpoint. But give us your thoughts. I mean, why'd you write the piece and what were you trying to say?
Well, the piece was written basically just reflecting on where we've been as a nation and just coming off the heels of an election where no one on the ticket won, and the fact that we have struggled in so many ways in this country to bring unity from both parties to find common ground. I think people are hurting. I think people want help, support. As an educator, I see that every day. I'm in the classroom. My day job is a classroom teacher. my day job is a special ed teacher. So I see these things from a lens that some of my other candidates didn't see it from. So I hear a lot of the issues head on and up front. So I wrote the piece just reflecting on where we are as a nation and trying to figure out where do we go party from here. So
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
Yeah, Gary, I read your article, and here's what I was a little confused about. Are you saying that you were hurt or others, local Republicans, were hurt because of the image, the national image, or because you have taken a stand against the whole MAGA movement and against Donald Trump? Which is it?
well, I don't. I think for me personally, and this is, I wrote it from my perspective, that I think people have taken out on the local candidates of what's happening in DC. I think it's just flowing downhill.
But you're not answering my question.
Go ahead.
Okay,
was
what
in
I'm
the middle.
saying,
In
here's
a
what I'm
roundabout
saying.
way, I wrote it.
It's one thing to
Well-
say, no, what I'm asking is, it's one thing to say that you were hurt by the image of national Republicans. I get that. I happen to believe as a Republican that is very important for Republicans at all level to take a stand against the MAGA movement and against Donald Trump. Okay, not just, oh, I was hurt by the image. So I'm trying to ask you whether you join with me in speaking out against Donald Trump's efforts to undermine the rule of law, to undermine our democracy, and so forth and so on. Is that your position, or are you just saying, oh, I was hurt by the national image? It's one or the other. What is your position on Trump and the MAGA movement?
I think a lot of candidates, and I'll speak for myself, I think we all were hurt by the national movement.
That's not my question.
Phil, let him finish. Let him get his answer out. Jesus. Let him answer the question.
Prosecutor coming out.
You know, there are a lot of things that are happening in DC that is flowing in all parts of the world. And I felt from writing the article, how do we show as a Republican, excuse me, as an endorsed Republican, how do we show concern and compassion for people that are hurting, that people want to be heard? And I think sometimes as a party, we don't do that well. We tend to.
Do you support Donald Trump? Yes or no? That is my question.
I'm going around about it, but like the article was written based on a movement in this country that we've seen and will continue to see until we bring people together and discuss our differences and how we can work together.
Well, he's not answering that. And the question I have is, did the Republican Party, when you got on their pink ticket, they, I'm sure, had an endorsement questionnaire and an endorsement process like every party does. And was there like a loyalty test on your, endorsement with the Republicans where you're not? Now, you were pretty clear, to be fair, in your article. You said we have to speak clearly how we are different from our national leaders. You talked about that there are those that do not reflect the values, like the silence of national Republican leaders. They don't reflect your values. You have to be courageous and show the true diverse colors of the Republican Party. But I mean, to Phil's point, I think that's the question. I mean, did you have to do a loyalty test to Trump to get on that endorsement?
I don't think there was any, Michelle, there was no loyalty test. It was my personal values that I hold up with the Republican Party. There was no loyalty test. There is no, I didn't have to go through anybody to write that article. I wrote it based on how I felt the election went and the movement that is going on in this country. There was.
But what is your opinion? I'll ask one more time, then I'll back off. Are you a supporter of Donald Trump? Yes or no? I know that you were hurt by the image, but are you a Trump supporter?
I don't see that question, Phil, as relevant. Whether
That's
I'm
very relevant. Very relevant. We need Republicans on the local level and every level to stand up to what's going on in Washington. With all due respect, whether they made you ask you the question or not when you went through the process, it's with all due respect, Gary, it's pretty clear that you don't want to answer the question.
Ask me, Phil. Ask me.
Let's show I know your answer.
Let's show Gary.
Let's show Gary
how easy. Let's show Gary how easy this question is. Ask me the question, I'll answer it.
Well, we really want to hear from Gary, right? We don't want you to give Gary the answer.
No, but I want to show Gary how easy it is to say something that you're, instead of beating around the bush, my brother, say it with your chest.
But Gary is a grown man, and he just speaks for himself.
I'm trying to put some jumper cables in his back. Say it with your chest.
Some jumper cables.
He doesn't need jumper cables. Gary is a grown, intelligent man. He can speak and articulate for himself. Let him do it.
There are certain things that have happened in DC that I don't agree with, and certain things that are happening in our country. There is a movement in this country from what's happening in DC. Again, there is a difference of how things have been led by the Republican Party versus when I grew up. The Republican Party was growing up as a Republican. Now, the Republican Party is different. It is truly different. We have a different stance on things. So,
and Gary, I think, and I think what the panel is trying to get at is part of the reasons why Republicans like yourself lost in this election or didn't get the fair hearing that you feel like you should have gotten is precisely because of the type of evasiveness that you've shown here today. I mean, I think that what you said in your column was very poignant. And I think a lot of people are expecting Republicans like you to, as Tarris said, say it with your chest. You can't just say the values are, because when you're afraid to say that, because you know what I think we're all intelligent enough to know the reasons why you won't say it is because there's a price that comes along with that, which is that precious endorsement that you got. That if you actually speak your mind and speak your values that don't match up with what's coming out of Washington, you don't get that endorsement from the party. And I think that's clear to everybody that's kind of listening. And so it's somewhat insulting. It is somewhat insulting to the audience.
Let me just jump in
to a black
and say
elected
this.
Republican, and to disrespectful to a black elected Republican.
Let me just say this. I don't agree with everything. Neither do I agree with the Democratic leadership that we had before Trump. So I don't want to be pigeonholed and say I'm loyal to the party. I'm loyal to God first, my creator. I am loyal to the people that I serve, my families that I see that are hurting. I'm loyal to what I feel that sometimes we, as Republicans, brush over the human piece. And sometimes what's coming out of DC, it's sort of more of a dictatorship. And we can't operate our country like that. We must be compassionate as Jesus would be compassionate for his people. From a spiritual standpoint, some of the things that are happening are not Christ-like. I'll just put it that way.
So Gary,
well, I'd also say Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Well,
I'm waiting patiently for my turn too, so because I have some questions too. Just
go ahead, Tarris.
He's asking you if you support Donald Trump. I can come on here as a black Republican, as an elected official, and I can say everything I want with my chest, knowing that I will not be endorsed by the Republican Party of the county who I serve, but I still get elected because that's just the way it is. And I spoke to to the highest ranking Republican official who I know yesterday, and I said, we're in big trouble. We're in big trouble. I thought that we were in a good shape. I thought that the MAGA movement just damaged, fractured the Republican Party, but we're in big trouble. They had to cancel Young Republicans convention because we're in big trouble. And you, Mr. Favors, I don't know you from Adam, but I'm going to say it like this. If you're a black Republican, you got to stand up to these people, these white Republicans who are pigeonholing us and putting us in a bad situation, because if Trump would have been popular and you would have been riding the success of the Trump vote, you could have been elected and they'd be like, oh yeah, I support everything that's going on. But we know we're in trouble as a Republican Party, and we know that and we got to get away from this Donald Trump thing. I'll leave it. I'll leave it at that. I read your article too, and I think it was well articulated, and I agree with what you're saying, because not just you, Mr. Favors, but the entire Republican Party took a hit. But it's going to be up to us as Republicans, especially black Republicans, to speak to these white Republicans who are in power, who are hanging on to it with white supremacy, and tell them that it ain't going to last. I thought we had the Democrats beat. I thought we had them down and out, especially after beating Kamala. I thought we had them down. But with the No Kings Rally movement, and as like you said, with this election that just came up, have they just swept through? We need to regroup. And we need, if you're a black Republican, because I was like, good, I'll get somebody, a black Republican that's on here. You got to speak to these white people like you ain't got no sense. You got to let them know that you don't care about their endorsement.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this, and I think it brings credence to what I'm trying to say. I wear two hats. Michelle, as an educator, I'm looked at as a role model to my kids. And on that campaign trail, whatever I say, whatever I do as a teacher, as a black male, what I do is microscopically analyze in everything I do. I don't, just because people, Donald Trump uses threats, all of that stuff to get people to succumb to whatever, that's not my style. That's not how I operate. I don't think that type of leadership brings unity and people together. How do we bring people together?
Gary, you're on a pink endorsed ticket of the Republican Party. And I think the question is, when you ran, what are you delivering? You know, what are you saying that you're going to deliver? And by being on that pink slip, that means something to people. And the question I think people are asking is, okay, you are a black Republican. How does that differ? How does this,
But what does my race, Michelle, what does my race have to do with anything?
Being a black Republican, when you put black Republican on something, it means a whole lot, especially for people out here who are taking hits. We're taking hits, man. And we're taking, and if you can't take a stand, in my opinion, if you can't take a stance and answer questions, the easy softball questions like what Phil had to offer you, softball questions. What are you doing in these meetings when you're getting these endorsements from these Republican Party? Because I know what I say, and I come on this platform and say it to everybody so they know what I say. So that's what I'm asking. When you put black Republican on it, you say, what does race have to do with it? Well, why didn't you just put Republican on there then? Or why did you leave the Republican on? When you put black Republican,
it was a nonpartisan race. There was no R or D behind anybody's name.
But you got an endorsement from the Republican Party, just like how that Hamilton County. We talked about the Hamilton County Democratic Party, that endorsement pamphlet that they sent out. All those people got on, because we talked about it on this programming, how powerful that is and what it means, sir. So that's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you're getting the endorsement from one of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States of America on the Republican side, is this what goes on when you're sitting at the table with them? We need some strong voices, man. I'm just saying, I understand that you're an educator and you do things your certain way. I'm gonna tell you, like the lady said the other day, was one of the most profound things that she said on this programming. They don't want us on the room. They don't want us there, man. So when we get there and we're just sitting there and we're just chilling out, like not saying nothing, like, oh, we're just good with the endorsement. I think we're doing ourselves a disfavor. So that's my thing. We got to be more outspoken.
So, Gary, I think, again, I think what you're saying sounds good, but the reality is that whether you like it or not, Republican and Democrat, when you side with whatever side of that aisle you're on, it comes with a label. And if you are saying that you are different or your values don't match up with what you're seeing at the national level, then you have to articulate that. You have to prove to voters that they can trust you, that as a Republican, if you don't agree with sending in the National Guard to Cincinnati, you have to be able to say that. If you don't agree with how ICE is handling immigrants in this country, then, and I'm not saying these are your positions, I'm just giving examples of what values that you say are in conflict with what you're seeing coming out of Washington. You can't equivocate on that. You can't be unclear. You can't make it seem like you don't want to answer the questions, because that makes people suspicious. It leads you to not want to trust you.
Before the election, that would have been a good time to publish your op-ed, probably, Gary, would be before election day. That way you could have gotten some independent votes, maybe even some Democrat votes, because on your yard sign you said teacher, veteran. You have your community. You stand.
Let me jump back to Kevin's point. I think the Inquirer did. One of the reporters at the Inquirer did a survey, and those questions were answered by me and all the candidates, how I felt about National Guard coming in. All those things were answered. I equivocally said no. I would not approve of the National Guard coming in, because I think we have local folks that are more than capable to address the crime issues that we have. We don't need the National Guard coming in. And I said that. I put it in writing. All that stuff is in writing. I'm not going back and forth. What I said in writing is what I meant. And it hasn't been, and I haven't changed in my position.
I think Michelle made a good point, though. I mean, what about the point she made about the op-ed coming out before the election? I think that would have had a different, people might have taken it differently, would have had a different energy.
And again, hindsight, looking back, Nathan, to be honest with you, I wrote that piece based on how I was feeling after the election. I wrote several op-ed articles before the election. I think I inundated Kevin with several op-ed articles. So I think those op-ed articles were coming out. That one came out as a reflection of how I was feeling at that point in time. Could I have written it before? Probably, yes.
My thing is, but Michelle, go ahead. I know Michelle might have some more questions. Go ahead, Michelle.
No, I mean, I read your op-ed. I thought you made some good points about, you said yourself, this is you speaking, we have to be courageous. We must speak clearly how we are different. To Tarris's point, I guess people just felt like in the comments I kind of saw was, where was the speaking clearly before? Once you get elevated to a place where you're on that pink ticket, you have a platform. You can distinguish yourself from what's going on at the national level. I think local people would have appreciated that. I think that's just, let's not have silence. Right. So let's speak out about the totalitarianism that's happening in our government. Gary, it would have been nice to just hear more of that, I think, before the election.
Yeah. I got just two quick points. So on one hand, and Phil kind of brought this out, like in the piece you write about being courageous, but on here, when Phil asks you whether you supported Donald Trump or not, just straight up, you kind of 6'7" with, you're waffling. That's not courageous. And maybe voters picked up on that. But then, everything that you wrote in your piece was obvious from the beginning. Like, you hitched your wagon to this administration. You knew this from the very beginning. So there should be no surprises. And then with the Black Republican thing, there's a lot of Black people, a lot of minorities, Black and brown people who feel like they're under siege, that they're being targeted. Like Black advancement in terms of public policy and direction is being turned backwards. So if you're a Black Republican, it's only natural that Black and brown people are going to question where you're coming from if they have that kind of perspective.
Nothing. I had to deal with, I'll speak on what you just said, Nathan, because I had this conversation with the highest ranking Republican person who I know yesterday, and we had this conversation. I said, what do you want? What are you doing? You take away DEI, you continue nepotism, you have these racist treats going on between the Republican Party, you young people, and then you got Black Republicans out here like me taking the hit. That's not gonna fly with me. You know what I'm saying? So we have to speak power to Trump.
Yeah, but Tarris, you have said you are a Trump supporter, right? So is that right?
Okay, Phil. Trump is only going to be president for another 3 years.
That's not my question.
So moving forward.
No, right now, are you a Trump supporter right now?
The way things are going on right now, I am looking for the next president. I was a Trump. I voted for Donald Trump. Hold on, let me answer. You're not even gonna give me no, JD Vance. Hell no. Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump because I voted against Kamala Harris. And because I supported Donald Trump at the time. And I've said on this program 1,000 times, I want to move past Donald Trump. I want to talk about who's going to be the next president.
But that's stuck in the question, Tarris.
Do I support Donald Trump right now? I don't align myself to what Donald Trump is over.
Answer the question.
Do I support at this moment? No.
Over. He's only 10 months into his term. I mean, we got 3.5-4 years of this crap.
Okay, so Michelle, like I know you only get things done the first 100 days of your presidency, and then the rest of the time you're on a tour trying to either get reelected or trying to just on a tour like Donald Trump's going on. All Donald Trump's going to do now is try to sign executive orders to get things in order. But as of right now, I am not like his approval rating has gone down with the people who's got him elected. The young people, his approval ratings has dropped, and with Black men, his approval rating has dropped.
How's his approval rating with Tarris Horton? That was the question.
My approval rating, but right now, Donald Trump, I like what Donald Trump is doing with Nigeria and with some stuff that I like his foreign policies and I like some things that he's doing, but I'm not a huge fan right now. But I'm looking past him.
Hey, tell me who is the Republican in office who's gotten elected by saying they don't support Donald Trump? Name me one Republican locally, state, or nationally. Wait a minute. Tell me one, and I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about when they were running for election, who said they didn't support Donald Trump and got elected. Name one.
Not one.
This is the problem that Republicans, whether you're Black, white, or whatever, you cannot be truthful. You cannot be 100% truthful and get the endorsement and get elected. And that is where it's at with the MAGA movement in the Republican Party. You cannot be honest. You cannot speak honestly, because if you speak honestly, you're not going to get endorsed. And they're not going to put you out there because there's too much stuttering and stammering among people who won't say. And this is the problem with the Republicans right now, is there are a lot of Republicans, Gary, who say they have values like you have values, yet they sit back silently while the Trump administration does things that are in direct conflict with their values. I hear a lot of people talking about Christianity and beliefs, and that's convenient to say until it comes time to answer the tough questions about what this administration is doing.
Like feeding poor people.
And as Phil said, your yeses have to be yeses and your no's have to be no's if you're going to stand on Christian beliefs and values. That just has to be the way.
And again, and I agree with some of that, Kevin, but look at our crime in this city. Look at our education system. Look at our public school system. Michelle, you know that better than anybody, as well as I do in this city.
Well, I also know who's defunding it. Yeah, it's Republicans.
And again, it's been given to the states, where I believe it should be given to the states, education. It shouldn't be managed out of DC. It shouldn't be managed out of DC. It needs to be managed from the state. So if we're talking about what I'm my bread and butter is in education. I deal with the most vulnerable children in this city that get looked aside, get tossed aside.
And
They
the
can't
Republican
read on a great
ticket
level.
is your
So
answer
we need to
to that?
deal with education. That's what my platform was on. Education. Why are our kids failing? No one can answer that on this platform. Why are our kids failing? Why can our kids read at grade level? All those issues.
I can answer that. Our kids are being failed by discriminatory policies that have gone on for generations.
I
years
sense
before
the
Trump
unity
got
among
into
the crew is
office,
about to be
Michelle.
broken.
Before
I
Trump
just
got
sense
in
that.
office, they've been failing.
Listen,
fun while it
I'm
lasted.
sorry, but the
on.
Republican answer to public education is to privatize it 100%. Right?
Uh-oh.
Parents
Here
should
we
have
go.
a choice.
Don't get me
Parents should
started,
have a
Phil.
choice in that.
Hey,
Just
choice,
like
really.
parents
More
should have a
Gary's
choice
talking,
where
the
they
more I
shop
agree with
and
him.
everywhere else, Michelle. Come on.
Let me say something. Let me say something, Gary. Just
Unbelievable.
in your favor, you and I are definitely in agreement on the education side, both in terms of parental choice and in terms of the federal government getting out.
Oh, really?
However, just to tie a little before these guys all jump on me, just to tie a little ribbon on this, though, in some ways it's a little unfair for us to, as I have, to criticize you for not willing to take a stand on Trump. But and Kevin is right. Yeah, when one does, one loses. But there is that famous expression that the only thing necessary for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. And hopefully, eventually, somebody, there's a guy I worked with when I was doing the Republicans for Biden thing. I think of his name. He was the chairman of the Republican Party. There's been a couple of these chairman of Republican parties that have chosen to take a stand against Trump. We should have him on the show sometime. In fact, I'll remember his name. The point is, we need to do what is right for the country. Okay. And if, we need local Republican chair people, we need city council candidates, we need whatever their position or attempted position is.
And we need school board members too.
Excuse me. True. But we need Republicans willing to speak out against what we know is wrong.
Yeah, I think Gary, the great thing about, and thank you again, let me just say, appreciate you giving this time and coming on here and putting your points of view out. I mean, I don't know Gary personally, but I've had the opportunity over the last few years to read a lot of his op-ed submissions and kind of see a little bit of his point of view and his ideas. And one of the tragic things I think is, Gary, is that individuals like you who do have good ideas, who do have thoughts, who I think do have a genuine heart for wanting to make Cincinnati better, don't get the look because of our political climate and everything that goes along with the labels of the party. But I think you hit the nail on the head in your piece. What is required to break out of that is the courage to call out things that are wrong and stand on the values that we claim that we stand on. And yeah, the casualty of that might be the endorsement. The casualty of that might be a particular election, but it's got to start somewhere. I believe that, maybe not this election, but maybe the next election is the one that you cut through because people see, hey, this is somebody who's not just sticking with the party line. They're really going along with their values and what they think. And I think it's going to take the kind of courage for somebody to say, I'm in this race and I don't care if I win, but I'm going to stand on my values and what I believe. And even if that means I have to denounce, things that my party is doing, is going to take that type of conviction and courage. And I don't think it just takes that type of conviction from Republicans. I mean, we're talking about that because we're talking about Trump and he does so many chaotic things. But I think that also we're having that same conversation about a Democratic, clean sweep. Will they be able to? Will the folks on city council be able to avoid going along with the party line? Will some people stand up when they see Democrats doing wrong? And so I think it takes courage. It's going to take courage on both sides, people with courage on both sides to get us out of this tribalism that we're currently in our politics. And so you hit the nail on the head, and I hope to see more of that from you and others who want to change it. You got to be the change you want to see.
Thank you for coming on, Gary, man. Appreciate you coming on. And I hate to ask you that question, because that was a baiting question about whether you were a Trump supporter or not, because they wanted to fill you out right off and put you on the defense right off the bat. And Phil did a good job of doing that. So if you felt like you were attacked right off the bat, because what they were doing is hold on. What they were doing is they were sending their little dog whistle out to everybody. That's what Phil did, to show, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Because Phil is very good at disparaging.
I'm the one with the dog whistle.
Phil is very good at disparaging black thought.
See, that's some of that black. That's some of that black Republican.
This is a dagger in my heart, Tarris. A dagger in my heart.
That's some of that black Republican pity party bullcrap. Please. Phil's question was completely in line, so we understand where Gary's coming from.
It was about Gary's op-ed.
What he had to say.
Gary started it. He wrote the op-ed.
Right, he wrote the op-ed. So
he said I lost because they're putting me up with these other dudes at the national level, and I lost because of it. And isn't that a shame? I mean, he started the conversation.
Right. It was completely in line in context
with the
conversation.
Are you a Trump supporter or not? So the first question, are you a Trump supporter or not? We need to know. We need to know, are you a Trump? Do you support
It wasn't the
Trump?
first question, though. The first question I asked was him to just tell us what his purpose was in writing the piece. So let's get that straight, Tarris. That was not the first question.
Yeah, and if we drill down, and I know we don't have time, but as you can see, as we started talking about education policy, I mean, Gary started to express that he supports school choice.
School choice,
okay?
and I do too.
That means something to people who pay attention to what's going on with Ohio's K-12 system, which is now almost at the bottom when Republicans have their super majority and start giving billions to vouchers and siphoning critical dollars away from our public schools. So, if that's Gary's position, that means
But Gary, here, I got to ask this question. You said you work with special needs kids.
I'm a special ed teacher.
Special ed teacher. So you work in a public school?
That is correct.
So how are you a special ed teacher in a public school and you support school choice and you know that there really is no choice?
And
because if you're a special needs, you have a child. If you have a can I finish? Let me finish though. Because let me finish, Gary. I know. So you work in special ed, you work in a public school, and you support school choice, buddy. That's kind of like cutting your own legs out from underneath you. And
I hate to say it, but stop picking on the guy.
You know that these private schools that's getting public dollars don't necessarily have to enroll and take special ed students. That's
absolutely. And I didn't say I like every facet of that policy. But there should be choice for parents who want to take their children out, and if they feel they can get a better education at a Roger Bacon High School, at any other high school, they should have that choice to use it.
Are your students
they don't have to take them.
Come on, Gary. Are your students eligible to go to Roger Bacon? I mean,
some of them.
They're real.
Some of them.
Look at Phil, like the cat just swallowed the canary over there. He finally got an ally.
I have developed a whole newfound respect for this man.
Phil finally got an ally. I'm happy for you, Phil.
Let's hear from Gary. Let's let Gary talk. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, he's already given his position. It happens to be the right one.
I know, but he might have more to say. He wants to. Go ahead, Gary.
It's called making sense out of nonsense. It's called cognitive dissonance.
Because we haven't done the job. I've got kids that are reading on below grade level that have been like that for years, that we pass along the system. Come on.
Okay, so you revamp the system. You invest in the system.
You don't work for the union.
You don't take the voucher. You don't take the money and leave the system. I'm sorry, what did you say, Gary?
You work for CFT.
I know. This is why I have.
And I'm a union paying member as well, Michelle.
Well, so what's your stance on unions, Gary? If you're a Republican, I mean, come on, let's get into it. I mean,
it depends on the union. If you're talking about the teachers union, no offense, my experience in both nationally and otherwise is their interest is more in terms of protecting their monopoly than it is in what is best for kids. Because the fact, because you are an inner city,
monopoly of
let me
what?
finish. You are an inner city parent. If you're an inner city parent, as I've said this before, you don't have the option to go to a private school, Roger Bacon, wherever. You don't have the option to move to Loveland or any of these other Milford because you can't afford. You're stuck with the monopoly. With all due respect, the teachers' unions like that monopoly. They do not like competition, even if it's better for the kids.
Oh my goodness!
That's so
where do I start?
More that Republican googly got. School choice makes no sense to me. But Gary, go right ahead. You were saying something, Gary. I want to make sure you have the floor.
I think I finished my thought. I'm
right.
I'm
School choice makes.
You got another hour with us.
School choice makes no sense to me.
I'm done.
Gary, do you have a good therapist, Gary? Because I've found being on this show, I often need.
Hey, we gotta get Gary and Michelle. We gotta get Gary and Michelle and our school people on here. That's a show we need to do seriously at some point. Is to do kind of like a couple of shows, maybe deep dive on schools and education. We talk about it enough on here that we probably need to just dedicate like an entire show or a couple of shows.
Well, look, when people are running for public office, this is like the big look. You have the big pillars. It's like, where do you stand on this? Where do you stand on education? Where do you stand on, and Gary's self-identified. I'm a teacher. I work at Cincinnati Public. And so, okay.
Which I think gives him a lot of credibility to talk about school choice.
Not when he's on a pink ticket and when he's talking about privatizing and siphoning money.
Nobody said that. I didn't hear him say nothing that. All I hear him say school choice.
Come on.
He said school choice.
But isn't school choice the same as privatization, Gary? What's the difference?
No, that is completely.
No, it's
taking public dollars and giving it to private.
Yeah, it's just using public money.
It's not the same.
We talked about
exactly the same.
We talked about this on this program before, and I have a son who is benefiting from what you guys are talking about. We've already talked about this and went through this whole thing about how my son did exemplary in all his testing and made it to a parochial school. And if it wasn't for school choice, he wouldn't be there.
Tarris. That's not the point. The point is
that is the point.
That is the point.
No,
that is the point.
That's not the point. Who care about all the children?
When you say school, when you say school,
by the way, Gary, I think
dog whistling that into connotations, and that's not right.
So
it's not bad for everybody.
Fittest type dude. I mean, good for you. What about everybody else?
It's okay. It would have
You're
been
a public official paid for by public dollars. You have a public interest and you are dedicated to the public good. That's what you should be. You should.
Yeah, that's the same as the children's good. That's
winners and losers, right? That's not your job when you're.
By the way, Gary, let me say, I think
when your crowd is winning, you let him win.
School board. I think you'd be great at that, just for whatever it's worth.
Well, how are you going to be on the school board of a public school board and you're for school choice?
Which is
you need diversity. You need the diversity. You need the diversity.
Hear me out here. Hear me out. So you're saying that Gary, and again, we just having a conversation, Gary. I wish you well in all your endeavors. So we're just for the sake of the conversation.
Yeah, we're not ignoring
you're saying, Phil, let me get this straight. I want to make sure I'm hearing what you're saying. You're saying that we should put a man who's in favor of taking money away from public schools on the school board for public schools.
Yeah. No. So here's the difference. You think the school board is for people who are for the public schools. I think the school board is for people who are for the kids, regardless of where they go to school. That's the difference between us.
Come on. These Republicans are for the kids, right? I mean, come on. Are you kidding me?
I think the world is
I'm not kidding you.
Show me the money. Show me the evidence that these
look
people
at Tarris. I'll show
care
you
about
the
all the
evidence.
children.
They don't want to hear nothing good. They just
That's
want
an
to concentrate.
anecdote.
They want to concentrate. They want to concentrate on other things.
To go to a school that the Tarris chooses.
I didn't choose.
Instead of
My
the
son chose.
choosing.
My son chose this. My son chose this from a very
The
young
Ohio
age.
Constitution says it is a system of common public schools. Our Ohio Constitution. That's why.
Yeah, the Supreme Court has said the voucher programs are okay under the Ohio Constitution.
And the voucher program is working amongst more states than there's not working.
No.
I mean, there's more states who have adopted that. The school choice is adopted by more states in the United States of America than it's not.
Who's running them? I mean, who's looking out for the kids in the wheelchairs and the kids that don't speak English and the kids who are medically fragile? Those kids aren't getting vouchers. Do you care about those kids, or only the ones who can make it out?
I do. I care about that.
Yeah. So interesting. Real quick, let's talk about the shutdown showdown. Looks like tomorrow there's going to be a big vote in the House, and looks like the shutdown's going to come to an end. But here's my question: who pays the price for this deal? We may not. We all have varying degrees of information about it, but in your opinion, who pays the price for this deal that appears to be have been brokered between the Democrats and Republicans to reopen the government?
That's a tricky. Well, I'll go first. I think the Democrats pay for it because they're the ones who capitulated to Trump again. When? I mean, if you're gonna, if you, what did you get? What, like with the No Kings rally? What do we want? We don't know. When we get the same thing over and over again. First person that needs to get fired is Schumer. He needs to go. You guys need to get rid of that guy and get somebody in leader who's gonna. Because who suffered from this? Who suffered from this? The people. But the Democratic Party will use this. Now they're going to say SNAP benefits. They took the SNAP benefits away, knowing that they were going to be funded, just like they're hanging on to Donald Trump, just like they're hanging on to everything. But the loser in this is the Democratic Party for capitulating, because it gives Trump a little bit more. See, I told you. Why did they even do this? They hurt the American people. They shut the government down for 40 days and had to get what? To get a vote. To get a vote for health care, to get a vote to say, oh, we'll give you a vote. We'll give you a vote. And yes, Ms. Powell, I did vote for that. But I did vote for that. I'll just leave it at that. I did vote for that, and I'm happy the way things are going. And I'm happy. I'm happy the way that things are going in that aspect. But who loses here? The Democrats, because the Democrats did the holdout.
I hate to agree with Tarris. But I think he's absolutely right. I think the Democrats just did what the Bengals did a couple weeks ago with the Jets. You got the game in hand. You got the American people behind you. More Americans, according to polling, agreed with the Democrats on this whole shutdown thing. And you gave it away for nothing. You're coming off of an election where you swept across the country as a Democratic Party, and you give away all of that momentum for nothing. I mean, Tarris is right. What? To get a vote? You know the Republicans are not going to vote to extend ACA benefits. One of Donald Trump's missions has been to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. Do you really think that even if Congress came up with something, that Donald Trump would sign it into law? No way. And the Republicans, we know they don't have a health care plan. They've been talking about a health care plan for 20 years now.
Concept of a plan.
So Democrats, they messed the bed on this one. Those 8 Democrats that elected to vote for this plan, they submarined the entire party. And this is the thing I think that frustrates you if you're a Democrat or if you support Democrats, is this type of thing. To be honest with you, I'm quite frankly, I'm honest that they lasted this long, because this was the thing about the Democrats. Nobody felt like they had the fortitude to go the distance. That's the biggest difference between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans, Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans, they don't care. They will go the distance. The Democrats never have the stomach to go the distance, and this is a perfect example. And I agree with Tarris on Schumer. Schumer, even though he didn't vote with the 8, it speaks to his ability to lead that caucus over there. I think he's old. I think he needs to do what Nancy Pelosi did and ride off into the sunset and let some fresh young leadership take over there in the Senate for the Democrats. There, without question, this was a major loss, I think, for the Democrats, and they're not going to get anything from it.
All right. Who pays the price for the deal? Gary, Phil, Michelle?
You know, this something that you learn when you're in political office on whatever level. Maybe Tarris is familiar with this, which is a lot of times you vote against something because you have to politically, but you really want it to pass. Okay? And there was an editorial today, I think, in the Washington Post that kind of suggested that that's maybe what was going on here. Because, I mean, the fact is there was a lot of pain for whatever reason being inflicted on Americans, people federal workers losing their job, planes cancel, all this stuff. And what it seems to me emerges from all this is that the electorate knows that the reason their health benefits are going to be cut in about 2 months or so is because of the Republicans, because of Donald Trump. And again, I don't have insight, but I would say what this editorial pointed out was that Schumer didn't exactly, as Kevin said, it didn't exactly put up a huge fight against this, because it's just my take. I think that the Democrats realized, no matter how much they say, oh, I oppose the deal, that in this next election, remember this, people are going to be losing their health benefits. And who are they going to blame? Well, if anything that this shutdown showed, I think it showed people, the American people, that the Democrats are the ones trying to preserve your health care benefits. So I kind of take a different take on this.
Yeah, and I kind of share Phil's view. And I mean, let's remember that 2 million federal workers are finally going to get their pay flowing again into their paychecks. The fact that not just passenger airplanes, but cargo, the fact that it's the holiday season and you're starting to see a backlog in cargo planes and the things that we all buy in this economy. I mean, the whole system was about to grind to a halt. Never mind the fact that people weren't getting their SNAP benefits. You had regular everyday Americans in long lines lining up for food assistance. So yes, the Democrats capitulated, but the cruelty is the point, right? And there was a lot of cruelty, and things were, and to Phil's point, what the Democrats were able to do is literally put the Republicans into the crosshairs to place the blame on this whole thing. And, and of course it was strategic. The 7-8 people that did, and some of the people in the comments pointed this out, these particular Democrats aren't running again for re-election. This was very strategic. Like, let's pick the people who can suffer, the backlash, who aren't going to be worried about winning at the ballot box again. And of course, let's mention Rand Paul, the lone Republican in Kentucky. I'm curious what Tarris thinks of him. Rand Paul also siding with the no vote to not do it. So, I mean, everyone's a loser with Donald Trump in office, right? But at some point, I think the mission was accomplished in terms of the court of public opinion now blames the Republicans for this mess. Clearly, the Democrats are seen as the ones who are kind of coming to the rescue to get us all back on track. And we'll fight in mid-December for the ACA tax credits to get extended.
Yeah.
I don't know
Gary,
about that.
Let's let everybody get in first, Kevin. Gary, what do you think?
I've got to go. 2:00 was my time to sign off.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for being here.
Coming on, you having me on the show. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, Kevin, back to you, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see. It remains to be seen. I mean, I think a lot of this moralizing that I'm hearing from Democrats sort of now because they've capitulated. I'm like, if that's the case, why drag it out for 40 days, right? If everything that you're saying right now,
because the American people learned where each party stands on health care, and they didn't really know that.
You think the American people didn't already? I mean, like, sometimes I think we insult the intelligence of the American people, like they don't understand which side is for the affordable health care and which side is not. I mean, I think that's been clear. I don't know. Maybe I watch too much news. Maybe I'm too plugged in. Maybe I give people too much credit for the fact that, hell, we've been talking about affordable health care ever since it passed. And if you don't understand which side the parties are on this issue, then God bless you. I mean, I just don't know what you've been paying attention to. I think a lot of this is just moral. I think this is moralizing because they lost. I mean, to me, it's like, why carry this thing out for 40 days if you're only going to bend the knee at the end? You've caused people to suffer. I'm thinking if I'm going along without taking a paycheck and I'm believing in the Democrats and what they're trying to do, it's like I may not like it, but I'm swallowing this because of a greater cause. And then you give that cause up, and get nothing out of it, and people are going to lose healthcare anyway. I think there's just a lot of moralizing behind a bad decision that the Democrats made.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad decision. I'm more. I hear what you're saying, and I can't say that you and Tarris and the way you're looking at it is wrong, because that's a real prevailing attitude that I see out there. But I also think it's kind of low hanging fruit. Like, it's an easy analysis. I think a more deeper analysis is somewhere in the neighborhood of what Phil and Michelle are saying. You know, I don't think this is the total loss that people are trying to make it out to be. Like, it's a political loss in the sense that their stated goal was to get, you know, a deal on the ACA premiums. They didn't get that right now. But you're talking about a lot of people, man. There's millions of people that were losing paychecks, not getting paychecks. So you got the political game, and then you got the practical game in terms of the impact on real Americans' lives. And, you know, signing off or agreeing to Americans getting their paychecks is never wrong. Let me answer my own question. Who pays the price for this? The American people. Like we always do. We pay the price for this. I mean, there needs to be a real push to change the way that we deal with these government shutdowns and signing off on the next federal government. We need to do what they do in other countries, where if the two sides can't come to an agreement, they just go with the old budget. So we never have, we need to take this tactic away, because the Democrats said, look, we think we're dealing with sane, rational people that care about other people. And what they realize after 40 days and night is that we don't have that.
That's right.
One side only cares about the power play. And from what I saw is they were willing to let our airline industry go under. Mm-hmm. They're willing to let people starve. They're willing to let people go without heat right before the holidays. And you had 8 Democrats who say, you know what? I'm not that much of a Scrooge. I want to do something about it. And I get it. Politically, it looks really bad, but doing the right things for people, having a heart for people, even if you got to eat some crow, when did that become a bad thing? When do we look down upon people who say, you know what? I'm not going to let people, millions of Americans, go through the holidays without food. When did that become something that we look down on?
Yeah, man.
Let me ask you this. So that was only 8 Democrats that did that. So how do the actions of 8 Democrats reflect on the entirety of the whole party? Because you still had the majority of Democrats who were taking that stance.
Because politically, their base, they would have been vulnerable to their base, because the base was strongly opposed to ending the shutdown,
which is good.
So
you're making my point. You're making my point that the base, the Democratic base,
were the ones who weren't.
Wait a minute. You're making the point that the Democratic base did not want them to capitulate. So then, how did the Democrats win? If your base is mad at you, how do you win?
Not everybody's mad. There's some people
who are not mad at the whole party. They're only mad at 8 people.
Listen, you think 2 million federal workers are mad right now, hearing that they might finally get paid after 8 weeks?
No, I'm not saying that, Michelle. But we're talking about the strategy that was used and what Democrats told the American people about why they were doing this.
They're only mad at the 8 people, Kevin.
Yeah, it's actually brilliant. This whole thing has been brilliant. From my perspective, they win on both ends. You win by making the case that I saved the day and I got your paycheck back. And I also win on making the Republicans come to the table about the ACA tax credits. And guess what? Third win, we get that lady out in Nevada or Arizona, wherever the hell they won't swear her in. Guess what? Epstein files are coming next. Oh, that's a big win. Yeah. This could be seen as pretty good strategy.
Can I jump on this and I'm going to agree with Michelle and Phil for talking about long-term strategy, because I kind of agree with that, because Trump is kind of come in here short term and take the credit. Say, see, I told you they couldn't do it. But then in November, December, January, when these people's premiums started going up, when the Obama incentives go away and these $400 premiums start turning $2,000 premiums, that hurts everybody. So in the primary election and the primary, if you're attached to MAGA, or you're attached to that thing, that brand, it's going to be impossible for you to win. So I see that part of it. But strategically, it looks bad for the Democrats now because he said you got this huge momentum, and you got the huge momentum. You could have knocked the wind, the sail out of the Republican Party and everything they're going. And then you're just like, okay, here you go. It's back into your hands, so you can make a mess of it. It's like to me, it seems like they didn't want to fix it. They want to, and I think Donald Trump is going to love this too because he likes to be the hero and the problem solver and say, look at me, look what I fixed. And he'll come up with this because I heard from the congressional hearings that I watch at night, the Senate stuff, that they're going to put together a nonpartisan group committee together, and within a year come up with some kind of better.
Don't tell me it's a Republican health care plan. Please don't tell me they're going to come up with that.
I don't know what they're going to come up with. All I'm saying is what I've been seeing and reading and seeing and watching is they're going to come up with a bipartisan committee together to research the healthcare and come where, and I hope that they do it. And I hope they get it right.
You said they haven't researched it by now. Nobody's researched it by now.
I didn't say that. Who said that? Who said anything about
more people are going to more people are going to be hurt in the long term when these Affordable Care Act benefits are not renewed. You're talking about, and I get it. I'm not minimizing anybody missing a paycheck or anything like that. First of all, the SNAP benefits ruling, the Democrats were winning on that in court. That wasn't what Trump was trying to do, wasn't going to hold up. But when you talk about the number of people who are now going to have to choose between food and health care, their lives or continuing to eat, their premiums are going to double where they're not going to be able to afford it. You're going to have more loss in the long term with these loss of the health care benefits than the short-term pain that people were enduring by canceled flights and whatever else. Again, I'm not trying to minimize that, but we're literally talking about life and death here with these health benefits that are not going to get renewed. That's something, in my opinion, that's worth going to the carpet for. And to give that up on the hope of a vote for something that Republicans have wanted to dismantle from day one, I just think is bad. I don't care how you dress it up. To me, that's bad strategy.
I think it's pain on both sides. So you're right on the short term, everyday practical term. You got federal workers, and then all the people. Think about all the federal agencies, even in our community, that service people and give people all kinds of stuff. Right? They're feeling that pain today, but then they're also juggling and leveraging the fact that what you said, Kevin, about these ACA tax benefits. That's going to be even more pain. So it's like, what if you're the Democrats? What do you do? But here's my question for you, Kevin. You're right. That's going to be a lot of pain when those health premiums skyrocket. And who are people going to blame? Where I sit, they're going to blame Republicans. They're going to blame Republicans largely because of this spectacle that the Democrats just put on with the shutdown.
That's a good point. Great point.
Yeah. Blue wave is still coming.
I hope so. I just hate to see. I just hate that to come at the price of. I just hate that.
It's bad, isn't it?
People's lives.
Think about where we are. No, I'm sorry, bro. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no. I think it's the difference between political strategy and the reality of people's lives. I think it's a little bit cold to talk about political strategy when you're talking about life and death. And I think you may be right at the end of the day that when that settles in and people look at it and they remember, let's hope they remember this, a year from now, whenever the chickens come home to roost for this, where everybody stood. But unfortunately, that's going to be somebody's loved ones who pay the penalty for that. And I just think that's, I guess that's the cold calculation of politics.
Can I bring up a timing issue too? Like this is the busiest holiday. We're coming into Thanksgiving holiday season, and these politicians know that too. So people aren't trying to not see their loved ones during the holiday season. So that's why, in my opinion, there's a lot of pressure on getting some things done, because not saying woulda, coulda, shoulda, but if this thing would have drug out longer because the lines were already getting ridiculous at TSA and people were starting to call off sick and the travel industry was starting to be affected, if it would have went into the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we would have been looking at a whole nother.
They should have shut it all down a lot sooner. My view is, key sectors of our economy, if the labor force withholds their labor, we talk general strike sometimes, that's what that means. they would have shut this down a long time ago. I mean, it's because, I mean, did you guys see that clip where the airline pilot's like, hey, man, this is getting serious. We're on 11 hours in Houston sitting on a tarmac and it's beautiful weather. And it's not because of weather, right? It's because we don't have enough people, you know, to get this thing moving. And this is why we talk about the power of the workforce and working families, that if we could strategically, nationally work on shutting some stuff down, until we get the demands that we deserve as American workers, we could get some things done, you know. But those people, God love them, they kept showing up day after day, week after week, talking about I'm doing DoorDash after I get home from directing airplanes in the sky. I mean, did you hear some of these interviews of these workers?
I did.
And it's like, just shut it down. You know, if we could have just shut it down a lot sooner, then we could have some real leverage. But we're just not there yet, I guess, as a country. I mean, look in France, they protested a hot second. They talked about raising retirement age from 62 to 64. They shut the whole damn country down. They're like, hell no. You know, Americans need to kind of get a little bit more. Look, this is not over. This is just the beginning. We have 3.2 more years of this guy. And if you
don't
think
remind us,
he's just going to be hanging out, Tarris, and hoping to get reelected or something, that's not the case. These people behind him, he's clearly, the guy's not even all the way together, okay? So the people behind him pulling him strings, oh, they got a whole lot of plans for America, and they are not stopping with this. Right,
Michelle, can I just say something about, okay, when I'm using an analogy about Donald Trump is like a dog that's injured. You know, he's a good dog. He's been a good dog for the Republican Party, but he's on his way out, and they know that they got to get rid of him, so they're trying to replace the dog. But the Democratic Party keeps thinking about this dog that's going to be gone. Yeah, you got 3 more years of him, but he's not going to be as affected. And I get it right now, and I'm telling you this from a Republican point of view. Move on past Donald Trump. Move past him. I'm saying move on past Donald Trump and start thinking. You said you got 3 more years of this guy and all this stuff. Let's start thinking past Donald Trump and who's going to be, because right now, if the Republicans don't fix things, this is what I've repeated, the Democrats have a chance to have the presidency for the next 16 years. So quit talking. Because as a Black Republican, I'm tired because I feel like
you guys are plan in the Republican Party to get away from what Trump's doing and get back, I guess, to the Reagan, you know, type of Republican that you love. I mean, where's the plan? Where's the caucus within the Republican?
The May primary is going to do it. Look, you said, how do I feel about Rand Paul, Thomas Massey? We're doing our thing in Kentucky, but unfortunately, the machine is too big. The machine is too big. And where I live in Kentucky, the machine's too big. My only hope is to come enjoy some of that goodness y'all got over there in Ohio and Cincinnati. That's my only hope. That's why I'm trying to be with you guys inside your echo chamber to say, let's quit talking about Donald Trump so much on the Democratic side, because I know you guys are influencers on that way. And let's move past him, because if we keep, that's what lost you guys the election whenever Kamala Harris, when they said Kamala Harris, what are you going to do about this country? And there she was like, well, what about Donald Trump?
Here's why I agree and disagree with what Tarris is saying at the same time. One, you can't ignore Donald Trump because he's currently the president and he's doing things. So I think it's ridiculous to suggest to move on from a guy who is in office and is doing things. You can't do that. But here on the other side is what I think is what's going to snap the Republicans back is when they lose in 2028. Invariably, because none of the other candidates that they're putting up are Donald Trump. I think what you saw from this last election is basically, and Trump kind of said it himself, and I think it's true. When he's not on the ticket, Republicans don't win. And he's not going to be on the ticket in 2028, contrary to what Phil and some others think about him going for a third term. He's not going to be on the ticket. And there's nobody with the kind of charisma or the staying power in the Republican Party. J.D. Vance sure as hell ain't it. Vivek Ramaswamy ain't it. There's nobody that's got the Trump cachet that's going to be able to carry the ticket and other Republicans. And so Republicans are going to get obliterated in 2028. And then that's when they're going to have their come to Jesus meeting with their caucus and figure out how they move away from MAGA and get back to sanity. That's my prediction in 4 years.
Can I make a quick point? Just 2 quick points real quick. So one, to Tarris' point, I think Kevin just said it very eloquently. He's in office right now. He's doing things. You have to react to the current president who's in the chair. And I'll go so far as to say, and you may or may not agree with this, but I think I'll stand on this. As we sit here right now, today, Donald Trump is the most powerful president of our lifetime and maybe ever, right? He has more concentrated power right now than we've ever seen in any one person's hand who's ever been in office, to the point where he can get the DOJ to indict somebody when they don't even have a case.
That's right.
Whatever he said happens. Whatever he wants to happen, happens. So we cannot ignore someone who wields that kind of tremendous power. But back to what Michelle was saying, she kept saying we should shut things down. You know what I want to shut down? What I want to shut down is the next time somebody says, my vote don't matter. Voting doesn't matter. Shut them down. The next time somebody says Democrat Republicans are just two sides of the same coin, please shut them down. Because if the evidence in real life tells us that all of that is not true. Your voice, your vote absolutely matters. And then when it comes to SNAP benefits and funding federal government, there is clearly a difference between the two major parties.
I want to say something about we talked about Vivek Ramaswamy real quick, and how I got on here previous on the program and said Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be a lock-in, shoe-in for Ohio governor. I'm retracting that statement completely. Completely retracting that statement. The Republican Party is so damaged.
Thank you.
That Vivek Ramaswamy, when he was at the Turning Point USA, and he's at these, and he's have to answer these questions about you're a Muslim and we're Christian and MAGA. I'm telling you, they're MAGA. You did. The Republican. I had faith.
Kevin did say that from the beginning. Kevin said that,
and I'm man enough to admit that. But I had faith, and you did say. Kevin said, "Tarris, you got a big heart, but I don't see the Republicans doing that." There is a divide in the Republican Party with the MAGA because they came at Vivek, they came at JD for him having an Indian wife. But so that's the fracture that we see that is going to turn all us good Republicans away from that whole thing. And you know how like you sitting down, some of us are not even going to vote sometimes in certain things. But I do believe that this, if Vivek runs on, if he doesn't quickly remove, but I think he's tainted. Amy Atkins got him. I think she's got him on the ropes because the Democratic Party is, you got the blue wave coming. And as long as y'all don't drop the ball by sitting there and doing something stupid, because right now, MAGA is not it. I've been trying to tell y'all there's a difference between Republicans and MAGA until there is a split.
There used to be. There used to be.
There's not any.
No, there used to be. There used to be. Today's, like it or not, today's Republican Party is the MAGA party. And if you don't think that's true, then as Kevin said, show me one local Republican candidate anywhere in the country that's won by coming out against Donald Trump.
Thomas Massey.
So unfortunately, that is the Republican Party today.
Thomas Massey has a primary. Thomas Massey has a primary in May, and he's anti-MAGA, and MAGA's putting $20 million.
He's not anti-MAGA. That's not true.
He's 20. MAGA is dumping $20 million.
Up to Trump on
MAGA's putting $20 million into a campaign to run against Thomas Massey in the primary. $20 million.
That's only because
Thomas Massey will beat him.
Thomas Massey's not anti-MAGA, but he has had the audacity to stand up in front of Trump, and Trump doesn't like him. Trump has called him a grandstander and a few other things, and that's the only reason why he's got a primary challenge.
Anti-MAGA, then, if Trump.
But I guarantee you, if you looked at his vote, if you looked at his voting record,
if you look at his voting record, he votes for the Democrat.
Here's the quickest dissemination of what you're saying, Tarris. Look at his voting record. How many times does he vote with Donald Trump and with MAGA? I guarantee you it's 95. It's upwards of 95%.
I think Kevin's right on this one. I think Kevin's right.
I guarantee you that he does not vote for them as much.
I can look it up.
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, look that part up. But
I bet you it's upwards of 95% of the time.
I would bet that too.
What we tend to focus on, and this is the same madness that they're doing right now with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's like people are so desperate to glom on to anything that's anti-Trump, they'll even take in on the one or two times. It's like they say a broken clock is right twice a day. On the one or two times when the insane people occasionally are sane, those are the things that you pay attention. Those are the things that you pay attention to. The one or two times where Thomas Massey bucks the system, gains headlines, but most of the time he's right in lockstep with the rest of them.
It's not true.
And so is Margaret Taylor Greene.
All right, let me move on. Here's a local story I want to get your thoughts on. Very provocative. An ex-member of city council that was disgraced is looking to make a comeback. Jeff Pastor, Black Republican, says that America is built on redemption stories. He's looking for a pardon from Donald Trump and possibly to return to public life. He actually was on the Lincoln Ware show today. I got a chance to watch some of it. It was pure entertainment. Shout out to Lincoln Ware for a great interview. It was pure entertainment. OMG, it was so much fun to watch. But what do you think? I mean, is he right? America's built on a redemption story. What do you think about the possible comeback of Jeff Pastor? He went on to say, there's a quote that says that had he been in office, and I'm paraphrasing now, if he stayed in office and not got caught up in this FBI sting, that some of the chaos that you see in the streets wouldn't have happened.
That is a quote worthy of a man who wants a pardon from Donald Trump. because that sounds exactly like something Trump would say. I mean, just think about the ego and the audacity for him to say that. You know, I mean, look, here's what I'll say. God bless him. I wish the man the best. You know, he went, he paid his price. I hope for him and his family that he's able to find some semblance of peace and joy and a life post conviction or whatever it was. And I do believe in redemption. You know, Lord knows that we're all sinners saved by grace. I believe in that. And so I hope that for him, whatever that looks like or whatever that means. But I think that he is sadly mistaken if he thinks that, particularly here on the local level in Cincinnati, that he has any chance to return to the political scene and get reelected. Sure as hell not as a Republican. Sure as hell is not as somebody who went to federal prison for taking bribes. It ain't gonna happen. I feel fairly comfortable in saying that. You know, they say never say never. I won't go so far as to say never, but I say probably 99% sure that that's not gonna happen for that brother.
But Kevin, wasn't there a former DC mayor, Marion Barry?
But listen, that was going to be my point, that not all redemption stories are equal, okay? Yeah. Yes, Marion Barry was smoking crack in hotel rooms. Like, who cannot identify with that? It's at least some of us, right? I mean, come on, it was the 80s, right? And he was a good mayor.
I mean, smoking crack.
So listen, I'm speaking as someone who's been very...
So you do identify with
being in recovery. Okay. I'm saying that it's one thing to maybe catch a DUI or maybe you're smoking pot or something, and then you want to run for public office. And there's certain, you know, things that people can identify with. Like, well, look, we're all human. Who hasn't, you know, but this particular redemption story that he is banking on is one where he got literal bags of cash for votes and was flown on private jets, you know, and I mean, I'm sorry, when you break the trust of voters, I mean, again, it's one thing to have a drug and alcohol problem, and it's a whole other one to be stone cold sober and be taking bags of cash for votes. I mean, I think they don't equal out, you know, and that's just one thing about Jeff Pastor. I mean, there's a lot with Jeff Pastor, you know. I mean, I can't. And not to be judgmental, but, you know, do you remember he came out kind of infamously in 2020 saying, I'm a polyamorous Jewish atheist? You know, I mean, yeah, I still don't like understand that personally, but also just like the whole way he got elected, you know, the fact that he was handing out $25,000 checks in churches literally days before election day from his billionaire sponsor from the Epilepsy Foundation, the fact that he was gifted a $500,000 house in Avondale. I mean, just a lot is wrapped up with Jeff Pastor that I think just everyday voters question, you know, his credibility, his honesty, his, you know, he wants to be a public servant overseeing the city budget. I mean, can we trust? I mean, beyond him being all the other things that he is.
No. Let me give you
why you hating? Why you hating on that brother? He saw opportunity.
I got 220 reasons, and you know it.
Different perspective.
He went, hold on, real
223 to
quick.
be exact, huh,
That's
Michelle?
220
Jeff
votes I lost
Pastor-
to him. So
Jeff
listen.
Pastor, black Jeff Pastor, and everything you said factually appears to be correct to my recollection. But why you hate on that brother, Michelle? He being a black man in the Republican Party, you're somewhat of a unicorn. He had those great posters when he was in the military service. He looked great. And so he came up on it.
He was a reservist, and he was only doing it. I think he was there for like maybe a week, and he
looked good in that photograph, though, Michelle. That's the only thing that matters.
Think about this too.
Hold on.
Think about this too. In the Channel 9 interview, he had on. These are things I pay attention to. He had on a pardoned pastor T-shirt. Who does that, man? You like? I can see if you had a following. Like if you had, like if his family had it on, like if his family had it on, or some supporters had it on. But you don't come on an interview with a pardoned pastor T-shirt on,
Hold
man.
on.
There's a bunch of stuff I had a problem with. Like even though he talks about taking responsibility, he kept wanting to talk about being set up. About it being a trap. And I'm like, bruh, you're trying to say you took responsibility, but then you still kind of trying to say it wasn't your fault that you were set up. That's like me saying to my wife, if a woman rolls up on me, I'm minding my own business, and she start talking about me, and I take her to the hotel and do something, and my wife come back and say, why did you do that? It was a trap. She set me up. Ain't nobody buying that. You still got to take the cheese. You have a choice not to take the cheese. And that was the problem that I had.
My spiritual advisor says, when men fall, don't
hold it, Tarris. You and I speak confidentially. Now, I don't want you talking about this on the air.
See what I mean? He takes the seriousness out of everything. Right when you get together your plane, he interjects with some old bull crap. Point is, whenever someone falls, don't laugh, learn. So Jeff Pastor, when he fell from grace, I didn't laugh at him because I'm a black Republican elected official. I'm learning from him. What did this guy do that I need to steer away from? So I went to other black elected officials. I was like, look, you see what happened to him? And they say, don't let nobody buy you coffee. You pay for everything on your own. These are steps. And then I did a little research to find out on the Kentucky side who was behind some of his political moves. And I was like, oh, hell no. So there's things, but I will say about Jeff Pastor. He does have a lane. He has a lane because being a black Republican right now is extremely lucrative when you're on the grifting side of the game. If you're not in this in a genuine heart where you don't want the endorsement and you really in there to try to help the people and you really in there trying to make a difference for what's right, not what's white. If you in there trying to make a difference for what's right, the Republicans will not even put you at the seat at the table. You won't even have a seat at the table. But if you do and you play along with them, they got a big, wide open checkbook open for him, pocketbook open for him. So, and if he's already acceptable for taking the money and all that kind of stuff, I don't know that to be him to be true. I'm just going off of what I've heard on this podcast. If it's already a character trait of his, he's ripe and ready for the MAGA movement. He's fresh out of jail, wanting a pardon. Oh, yeah, we'll give him a pardon. And along with that pardon, we're going to give you a little money, but you got to go out there and you got to lap lick for Ramaswamy. You got a lap lick for boot lick for all these people. And I don't know. I'm not going to laugh at the brother. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to watch his moves and I'm going to learn.
Well, what constituency is he bringing, Tarris? I mean, seriously,
he has a
polyamorous community.
He has a talk. He could be a talking head.
What does that mean?
Hold on. I got one. No, hold on. What constituency? You asked me a question. Let me answer. What constituency? Hold on. What constituency? This is the answer to his. What constituency he bring? White, fragile Republican men and women who like to look at a black man and say, "Oh, we're not racist." look, we identify with somebody like Jeff Pastor.
They're not going to identify with Jeff Pastor because he's a black man. He's a black man who took bribes. Look, there's no white Republican that's going to identify with that. In fact, that's the stereotype that they love. That's the stereotype. Let me finish, Tarris. That's the stereotype they love to put on black people. So they're not going to prop that up. They're not going to prop that up. In fact, they'd probably be better off villainizing him, using him as a poster child for all of the white supremacists who want to feel like that they're better. See, this is what happened when you put black people in the office. Look.
No, I think they'll embrace him. And they'll give him
a couple people in the chat talk about Donald Trump having 34 felonies. Right? Having 34 felonies. And I say this all the time. Donald Trump is a singular individual. Most white people can't get away with what Donald Trump is getting away with. You sure as hell ain't going to get away with it as a black man. So to say that Donald Trump got elected with 34 felonies, Jeff Pastor can get reelected. That ain't the same thing. And if you think it is, then that's just bad thinking, in my opinion.
We could get maybe 3,000.
They're not nearly the same.
They will invite Jeff Pastor to a MAGA party, put a red hat on him, and be like, "Look, I'm not racist. Look at Jeff Pastor. He's my friend." They will do that for him and fill his pockets as full as they can go. And if it's his characteristic traits to already take these kind of things, I think he's right for the picking for the MAGA movement. Will he win? Will he be effective? I don't believe so. Will he get elected? Hell no. But will he? Politicians, there's people in politics for the money aspect of it as well. I just had to fill up my KREF stuff today. You know what I'm saying? So there's people in politics for money. Strictly grifters. Officer Tatum. Candace Owens, some like people say. There's a lot of grifters. And there's a lane for it. As articulate as him right now, I think he's got a lane where he could be a millionaire.
Well, he got to get that pardon first, and that's the other thing that's going to be interesting to see. PG Sittenfeld, the white guy, the white Democrat, got his pardon, and in fact, Trump got the DOJ petitioning to the Supreme Court to wipe it clean. So it'll be interesting to see if Trump get a black man the pardon like he gave PG Sittenfeld the pardon. We'll see. That'll tell you whether he got a lane or not.
PG's been on his LinkedIn page talking about tales from the prison yard almost every other day, really playing up to that experience. I don't know. I mean, clearly he's using that to build himself back up in the public life so he can run again. I mean, sounds like that's what's going to happen with him as well.
It's hard out here.
So what do you think about PG Sittenfeld? Let's go there. I mean, as Kevin said, DOJ, the Department of Justice, think about that, is asking the U.S. Supreme Court on PG's behalf to throw out the entire conviction, which would mean that he can run again and his name is clear. Like, I think, listen, if you can get it, I think most people would go for it. But is there a lane for PG Sittenfeld to return to public life? Or not public life, but to political life as an elected official?
I'd like to jump back quickly to Pastor just to say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That for the reasons Kevin said, his is not I think the American people do love and will support a redemption story. But to be a redemption story, you have to admit you're wrong.
Yeah.
You can't make excuses. Like Kevin was saying, I'm reading that article. On the one hand, I was kind of touched by his relationship with Sittenfeld and prison, but he's basically blaming the FBI. He's not taking any responsibility for it. And so to me, that's not a redemption story. Now, I'll tell you a real good, I think, redemption story locally. Somebody I know pretty well is Mike Allen. When I was county commissioner, we were really going after him, rightly so, because he had that scandal with the woman in the prosecutor's office and all that stuff, and he was disgraced. Well, he could have, a lot of people would have just said, I'm leaving town after this, but I give him a lot of credit because he has built up a very successful law practice and pretty successful, apparently, media career as well. And I think that's something that we need to really respect and honor. Because when you are that low and you build you are resilient enough to build yourself up like that, That's pretty impressive. But I do want to say, by the end of the show, I'd like somebody to tell me what polyamorous is. I still don't know what it is.
Then get Jeff Pastor. He can answer that.
Phil, I agree with what you just said, but I think it's kind of like what Michelle said in her comments. You know what Mike Allen did, you know, fooling around with somebody in your office is different than taking money, than taking bribes, than betraying the public trust.
But would you agree if he really, would you agree, Kevin?
Because
if he
on some
really
level,
said, I'm sorry, he could still get the redemption thing. If he said, I was wrong, I took this money, and I am 100% at fault, do you think that would give him at least a better opportunity for that?
It would be better. It would be better, but I think there are some lines that you cross in public service that it's hard to come back from. And taking money and betraying the public trust, I think, is one of those.
Now,
I think is one of those deal breakers with.
Yeah,
voters.
if he had a drug problem or he was drunk when he did it, that would even be better. You know, because that shows your you know, you weren't in your full mind and your judgment was wrong. Like if you had a drug problem and did it, I mean, that would even have more points. You know, but to just do it and be totally like aware of what you're doing, yeah, it's really hard to come back from that, I would say.
Yeah. But what do you guys think about PG Sittenfeld? Is there a lane for him to come back?
Well, yes. I mean, I think I've said for a long time, and here's why his situation is a little bit different. You got to look at the larger picture behind why there's so much movement behind getting PG Sittenfeld sort of absolved of this, because there are a lot of people in politics who are concerned about, you know, the use of PACs and this fine line that PG Sittenfeld was trying to argue between what's a bribe and what's sort of like fair game of raising money for your campaign. So Sittenfeld's case was a little bit more nuanced than either Tamaya or Jeff Pastor's cases, and that resonated with a lot of people in politics, because they're like, a lot of politicians were looking at that and they were like, hey man, what I've done on some occasions may not kind of sound like a little bit like what PG Sittenfeld was doing.
Kevin, isn't the nuance that he's white, he's a man, and he's got money?
Getting to that. I was getting to that, Michelle. He
did the same thing, Jeff Pastor, except it wasn't bags of actual cash. It was wallets of checks, and it was slightly
different. Yeah, but one is for you personally, the other's a campaign contribution.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. There's a difference in how they took the money, where the money went, and like I said, he had more of a case that he could argue, which is why he went to court.
He had the most highest paid lawyers of the land. He had the best, highest paid lawyers in America.
He had a lot. It's a different case. He had a lot more. I'm just
making the point that it's because he's white, male, and wealthy that we're talking about. It's different for PG than Jeff Pastor. I
think that's among the reasons why it's different, Michelle. I don't think that's the whole reason why it's different. Again, I think the circumstances of the cases are a little bit different. They're not exactly the same. So that's important to point out. But I don't disagree with you that PG's whiteness, his pedigree, and a whole lot of other things played into his favor, even the fact that he could take it to court and challenge it, right? Whereas, you know, Tamaya, we know that she didn't have the resources to do an extended, you know, sort of court battle or that sort of thing. And Jeff was in the same situation. So I don't disagree with I don't disagree that that's a factor, right? That was going to be my point too, which is why he also has, I think, a clear lane back to politics if he wants it. Because even when PG was found guilty, he still had a bunch of people who were on his side arguing for him, who stood up for him, who spoke up in his favor. I didn't see any of that with Jeff or Tamaya. They literally had, like, their support abandoned them when the handcuffs went on. And so I think Sittenfeld definitely has a lane back, although you do got to look at what he said when he got out. He said didn't he say something to the effect that he had no appetite to return to politics, or he had moved on beyond that? So we'll see.
Nobody believes that.
I want to bring an interesting perspective in on this with PG Sittenfeld, and let's talk about the theatrics of all of this. How his demise came at a very time that now AFTAB it launched AFTAB into to his career. So theatrics, so he can go to Donald Trump and say, "Hey, Trump, they did the same thing that they did Letitia James, them did to you. They witch hunted me. They got me into this situation." And then Trump will be sympathetic and have an empathetic ear and clear this off for him to be Jeff Pastor's pastor, so to speak. On Lincoln Ware, I heard him said he was going to Bible study and stuff like that. And I'm just joking around kind of. He said he was going to Bible study, and I think that's awesome that PG.
Wait, he's Christian now, or?
I don't know. I
I'm
just say on Lincoln Ware's show today, I heard Jeff Pastor talk about PG Settenfeld was hosting Bible studies while they were.
Oh, you're talking about PG. Oh, okay.
PG was hosting Bible studies and how he was leaned into his Christianity while he was in there. So like if he can go in there and tell that story and then get up in front of them Turning Point USA people and the white Christian nationalists and say, "Hey, I found God even when I was in the trenches amongst all the felons. I was still preaching the word." They might elevate him.
Yeah, I think it's definitely.
Well, guys, since nobody would tell me, I just looked up this polyamorous. I mean, I depend on you guys, to inform me about things that I'm maybe naive about, but nobody would, so I just had to look it up here. I mean.
There's several of them.
Did you get
the you want me to read what it says, or do you know? I'll read it.
We know.
Oh, you know. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We all had to Google it.
I've led a sheltered life.
We Googled it back when Jeff Pastor came out in 2020. Everybody
When you say came out, in what respect? You mean?
Well, he wrote a big article in what's that thing, that online thing that everybody reads, like thousands of people read it?
The Whistleblower?
Reddit?
No.
Is it Reddit?
Medium. Is it Medium?
The Medium, yeah. It was Jeff Pastor published this big article in Medium. It was long and convoluted, I would say, but
he was just going for the polyamorous vote. That's all he was doing.
And funny, I mean, it's just funny. I remember Winburn being not happy at all about it because Winburn had really gone to the mat for Jeff Pastor, and just the reaction. Of
I can imagine Charlie not being happy with that.
Oh, great.
Sure.
One last topic before you roll. The president, that's our president, Donald J. Trump, is floating the idea of giving Americans a $2,000 tariff rebate. My question is, what is the likelihood that this is actually going to happen? And what is your opinion? In 2 weeks, or is this a real thing, or what is this in your
Where's
opinion?
the money coming from again?
From the tariffs? From us, basically?
$195 billion in tariffs, he says, that they've collected. I'll say this: Trump is smart. He for everything else.
He's shrewd, not smart.
Well, shrewd. Okay,
Yeah.
You're right, Phil. Maybe that's a better word. Maybe that's a more apt word. I'll give you that.
That's what I found about every con man I ever prosecuted.
Yeah, Trump is shrewd. He knows that putting money in people's pockets directly matters. That makes a big deal. And just in seeing this out there in some of the social spaces and the commentary that's out there, it works. If Trump if he were some way able to make this a reality and put $2,000 in Americans' pockets, that would go a tremendous way for him. People would suddenly get amnesia about a whole lot of other things that he's doing if you put that direct check in people's pockets. And he knows this. And particularly at a time where his approval rating is not that great, he's underwater in a lot of areas, you can get back on top real quick with a $2,000 check landing in folks' mailbox. Now, first of all, it's not going to happen.
With his signature on, I'll guarantee.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not going to happen. And because
why not?
Well, so first of all, there are a lot of hoops, including Congress, that he would have to jump through.
He doesn't worry about those
before he would need to make something like that happen. And then you're talking about they've only, according to his treasury, they've only collected $195 billion in tariffs. So you're only so if his claim was he wanted to give out $2,000 checks, that's only 100 million Americans. That's only a third of the American population. So they're only going to be a handful of folks
What if he just does it in the swing states?
Yeah, who are going to get those checks? So who do they go to? Who gets them? He hasn't outlined any clear parameters about who would qualify to get that.
He said
check.
no wealthy people.
Yeah, well, what does that mean? You know, wealthy
People
is
making
relative,
over $1 million
right?
a year, or
it's like affordable housing. It's like the term affordable housing here in Cincinnati. What does that really mean in terms of dollars?
What if they said, "Hey, listen, I like where Phil's thinking." What if he said, "Listen, swing states and nobody making over $400,000 a year"? Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with your point, though. I mean, it's a. But think about this. This is our money. So basically, you take our money with these tariffs, which the Supreme Court may say or may not say is illegal, and then you turn right around and put a gift wrap on it and give it back to us before the midterms. That is masterful.
Yeah.
Masterful.
Hey guys, I got to check out today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
You guys. Bye.
Take it easy.
I agree with Kevin. I think that it's a strategic thing because, like I said, the approval rating's going down. He's going and getting booed at football games and stuff like that. And like we talked on earlier, Trump is on his way out, and he wants, before he gets out, there's certain things that he wants. He wants to go out on a positive note, and he wants a Nobel Peace Prize, and these are things that he wants to go, and he wants to have a UFC fight at the White House. These are things that that we need to. 3 years that he's going to be doing. So the $2,000 check, I don't know anybody's going to say they're not going to take it. I don't know anybody's going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to take that check. I'm going to say, and if you do, if you feel that bad and you hate Donald Trump that much and you ain't going to take that money, you can send it to somebody in need or send it to somebody. Please do that. But I believe that once he sends that check out, if he sends a check out and he decides to do it, a lot of people will lose his approval rating. They'll shoot back up, and then it will. I hope he does it. And he doesn't use it as a mid-term ploy.
Of course, that's what it'll be a ploy. It's buying votes. It's the same thing that Republicans accuse Democrats of. Is what this would be. I'm simply going to buy you off. And to Kevin's point, we are simple creatures. Groceries are expensive. It'll work like a charm. Especially if he puts his name on the check. Man, you still got people talking about Trump sent me some money. That was a long time ago. So yeah, it will be a great political move. There are some high level thinkers inside the Trump administration that weren't there during the first term, and you can kind of tell from the moves they're making. There are some very smart individuals who are really thinking ahead 2 or 3, 4 steps inside of Trump's term this time. So we'll see how it all shakes.
I mean, Don had a good point in the comment. He talked about how it could be all part of Trump's strategy to influence, the Supreme Court, who's kind of currently looking at it. But again, I just look at the math and all of this. Most people agree that the American people are the ones who are paying for this tariff. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that is the case. We're paying higher prices for certain goods because of these tariffs. So one would have to say that this $2,000 that you're getting back would have to be equal to or more than, for it to be a benefit, for more than what you've had to spend out and increase.
Yeah, no, people don't figure that out, though.
No, I'm just saying. So people who are not figuring that out, I'm putting it on the platform here. I'm putting the math on the platform so that they can hear it. You would have to think that it would have to be equal to or more than that. If it was just equal to, then it's a wash, and you got to ask yourself, then what was the point of the tariffs? Because to hear Trump tell it, the money from these tariffs we were going to use to pay down the national debt. Well, you can't do both. You can't give the $195 billion because you're going to spend all of that on the refunds that go back to the tariffs. So now you're not using that money to pay down the national debt. At best, the $2,000 that American people are getting, and not all of us are getting it, right, is a wash at best. You're probably not coming out ahead. So it's still a loser. So the tariffs are still a loser all the way around. No matter how Trump tries to calculate this, it doesn't do any of the things that he wants it to do. Doesn't pay down the national debt, doesn't help all Americans recoup what they're paying out in higher costs because of the tariffs. How do you, so I'd love for an economist or somebody to come on and tell me how what I'm saying is wrong.
Well, it's not the point. He's doing it like Nathan said. He's just doing it to, people don't calculate that way. Oh, I got money. Donald Trump sent me $2,000. That's all. That's all they do.
But you guys are the tariffs. Donald Trump has said and has used the tariffs as a negotiation tactic with other countries. That's what he used. He
For himself.
For himself. Okay, for himself too. Yeah, but he has used tariffs. He's went back to the 1800s and used tariffs and said, this is what our country was built off of. And we got to admit, the majority of the people that he's used tariffs to negotiate with have capitulated. As far
what have we
China didn't.
What have we got?
China didn't.
Well, okay, you take 100 countries, and we get one that were, but the disparity of the tariffs that we were being, the tariff disparity has decreased dramatically since Trump implemented tariffs on China.
There never was a disparity.
Oh my God!
China ate his lunch in those negotiations.
Yeah,
they
they
gave
did.
him all they did was go back to what they were doing. They were already buying our soybeans. They were already selling us rare earths, and that was the deal that Mr. Great Deal, Art of the Deal guy negotiated. He got what we were getting before he put the tariffs in place.
He just put his name on it, and you see a lot of that from Trump. Listen, I would love the everything you just said, Tariff, to be true. I'm an American. I want to see our country win, no matter who the president is. But reading between the headlines, and with my limited understanding, I'll admit that it just doesn't seem to be a big winner for the American people anywhere. But that's just my humble, opinion about it. And that's all I got, fellas. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Gary Favors. I hope he comes back on. I really do, because it will be a lot of fun.
I hope you guys are nicer to him though next time.
We were nice. Did we grow folks, man?
Phil's the one who set it off.
Right.
This man came in like a pit bull.
Oh,
He did.
Right off the
Mike
bat.
Trump or not?
I had to Phil.
It was a joke.
Phil, I had to pull your choke chain. Because you was ready to maul that man right off the bat. I said, Phil, let the man answer the question. No, are you a Trump supporter or you're not? Tell me. You can't handle the truth.
Let me just say something before I get off. Before you let go of my choke chain just for a minute, I do want to say that I had an opportunity last week to do a great interview with Nathan on my podcast called Sanity Check, and it's on this week, both in total and in segments. And I will say he did a great job, and I hope you'll listen to it.
Yeah, I did see the promo. I think Nathan shared it on his page.
It was an out-of-body experience, man. I'm like, I'm at Phil Heimlich's house. Like, this was, again, I kid you not, and I can't emphasize this enough. He was our arch political rival nemesis. So, media really is powerful and can really bring people together. It was my pleasure, Phil, and I had a good time, man.
Mine as well.
Shout out to Ivan and your crew. They're doing a great job for you.
Thank you.
That's all I got, everybody. Shout out to Michelle. Shout out to all the crew members that were in the chat, TNT, Fanon, Alandis, appreciate you. Shout out to our crew chat. We appreciate you. Lift us up. There'll be some clips out sometime this evening. When you see them, please share them and like them. And have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll be back on Friday at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time.